Hello, everybody. Welcome into the stream, guys. Hey, I pushed back the ESO stream for just a second because I want to talk about some stuff. Oh man, where to begin? I actually have some some notes for myself. Not a lot, but just so I can generally keep the train of thought going. So, real quick, for those who don't know, just because I think it's fairly important for the background for this. Um, I I served in the U.S. military. It was a long time ago. Hi, Nani. Welcome to the stream. And I tell you that because the reason I joined the military, Nani here also served, as did many of you guys, many of you that I know pretty well and chat with. And the reason I signed up is because I wanted to give back to my country, and I wanted to serve and give back some of the freedoms that I felt like I had used and in a lot of ways abused. I was a young man. I joined when I was 17. I had to get a parental consent to sign off on it. Um, yeah, so I tell you that because I think it matters. That's the reason I joined. That's the way I felt. I was very patriotic. I grew up in a place that has, I think at the time, like I want to say like the most like some like more recruitment than like most other states combined. As far as like joining the military, that was a place I grew up, and um, kind of born on the 4th of July vibes. What's up, Lenny? Yeah, we're doing a serious stream here. We're gonna do ESO right after this, guys, but we're doing a serious stream right now. So I just want to. All right, America, the dumpster fire. It's in the title, right? There's a lot of shit going on, and it's not good. And so we're going to kind of talk about it just briefly. What we currently have in America right now, and this is fucking insane to me, is an unaccountable masked secret police force that is operating with impunity. Now, in America, the idea of an unaccountable police force is not news. It's not a new thing. It is something that qualified immunity is what it's called, and it basically means that no police officer is hardly ever held accountable for their actions. Only in extreme cases, and the only thing that the police really seem to be afraid of is in the U.S. is like bad PR because they know I guess they know that's the end of their power, but they're pretty terrified of bad PR, but that's about it. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, guys, this is too what we're going to talk about today. This is not about one political view versus another. This is talking. I just want to talk about issues because these. If you if you look here on YouTube, if you don't know what I'm talking about, guys, start googling. Start googling on YouTube and Google police violence. Google, and there are countless videos that are not never covered in like by like large news outlets or anything else of police brutality, of things you will see. There are police beating up blind people, deaf people, at sometimes permanently disabling them, right? Because they gave them a command and they didn't listen because they're deaf. There are cases where a lot of people think and have thought for the longest time that it's about race. Yes, race plays a factor, but that's thinking that it's all about race is like it. It's just such a small part of the problem. The police can basically operate with impunity in the U.S. and have been able to for my lifetime, and I assume for a long time before that. But now we have ICE, and we have we have this government, police force that is going around that it's not even welcome in the places it's in, and and they're able again to operate with impunity. We have only just now, this is insane to me. We've only just now seen our media, like the majority of the media, finally start to not just take the police narrative and just read that as if it's the case. Okay. And what I mean by that is that like instead of saying, yeah, because the police will say wildly different things than what actually happened. And the thing is they're doing this with ICE, but they're not doing it with like the rest of the police force, which they absolutely should be. So it's not going near far enough. The police, what they will do whenever they do something wrong is they will release a statement that is completely blatantly untrue, and try to paint things in a totally different light to make them look good. Because again, PR is the only thing that they're worried about. It seems like, and I think we have a lot of stuff to back that up. You can, and if you're wondering what I'm talking about, Google the civil rights lawyer here on YouTube, and what one moment, guys. And apologize to a housemate to tell them I didn't expect them to be around to this. I didn't want to put them through this. Um, so it's the rabbits, right? So um, yeah, you'll get to see all different kinds of cases of this, guys. And the other thing they'll do too is whenever they do something wrong, whenever they rough somebody up, whenever they whatever, what they'll do is they'll often charge someone with a whole bunch of extra things. Resisting arrest, right? The classic one, right? And then they'll throw on like assault of an officer. They'll throw on all these different things. And it's like, oh, yeah, we body slammed this dude, and then slammed his head into the concrete and he kicked out at one of us. So that's clearly assaulting an officer, right? That's the kind of stuff they'll do. And they do that in order to scare people and stop them from reporting these, these crimes by police. This has been going on decades, guys, decades. And again, I've had to deal with this. Okay, I'm a white dude. I've had to deal with plenty of this. I used to have to deal with this all the time because I used to drive old beaters. I kind of not so much anymore. I had to get at one point I had to get like a decent car, and I've kept it. So it's like older now, but it's like it's a Volkswagen, not like a I don't know, it's you know a Geo Metro or something. But I used to drive. I had a friend. I told him if they ever sold their vehicle, it was an old Honda that had no clear coat left on it. And I used to tell them that, hey, if you ever you're going to sell your car, call me. I'll buy it because I know that thing will run for another like 150,000 miles. The thing was garbage. The door handle was broke off. There was just like a little piece of a door handle. So, anyways, cars like that. And I bought that car from them later, like years later. They called me. It was crazy. I was like, yeah, I'll come get it. And I used to get pulled over all the time because I drove old beat up vehicles. And so I would get harassed all the time. And I worked in restaurants and I'd be leaving work at somewhere between midnight and 3 a.m. Cannot tell you how many times. I can tell you plenty of stories. And I can tell you plenty of stories before that, okay? And that's me. Now, imagine that I was brown or something else, right? Plenty of situations, also well spoken. Anyways, that's just some of what's going on. What we're seeing in the U.S. government is rampant corruption at every level, and we've been seeing it for years. And it is crazy bad with the Trump administration, but many of these Democrats, they're better, but they're not like great, okay? You might have someone like Bernie Sanders. I love Bernie Sanders because that dude's been saying the same thing for like 50 years, okay? You go look back at like Bernie Sanders from like the 80s, and he's saying the same thing he's saying now. This is someone who actually has principles. And it's John McCain. It is really unfortunate that we lost him, right? This was someone who operated on principles. We don't really have that anymore. And the amount of like self-dealing that Jared Kushner and all the Trumps are doing to enrich themselves, again, it's not about, I know a lot of people have their political guy or whatever. It's not about that. Chuck Schumer, he self-deals too. He tries to make sure that, if you think that these various politicians don't try to make sure that they have programs that the government is funding, that the national government is funding to keep in their state, like you're wrong. They all fight for that. They all deal in their own self-interest. Okay. There are degrees, and that is very important. Someone just Trump blatantly asking for and receiving bribes from large corporations by way of a lawsuit is one clear, crystal clear example, right? And we have many others. What Jared Kushner did, Saudi Arabia, etc. Like it's pretty crazy. And it's kind of crazy. All right, there's going to be some good news at the end of this. I'm just not done. Other like backwards policies that we're doing right now is like thinking that oil is the future. Oil is not the future. Basically the head of every major department we have in the U.S. right now is either ran by someone who's either incompetent or just unethical, or more likely both. And The amount of stupidity that is going on now, guys, it's hard to express this in a succinct and clear way, but just as like a for instance, right? So we have a lot of research. Remember the cancer research and stuff like that got canceled and got funding cut? Like that's the kind of stuff we could be increasing. If we look over the past couple of decades and maybe over the last century about the amount of advances in healthcare and everything else that we've gotten because of immunizations and what have you, we've made the world a better place because of that. And right now we're actively cutting all those things. Similarly, education. Education is like the number one way someone like me and someone in many there are many people that were had much worse situations. I am still a product of my environment. I got out. I'm a little bit of a statistical anomaly, but there's reasons for that. You know, most people don't get out. Having education, health care, being able to make sure that children are taken care of and have a place to live and have food to eat. These are basic things that we are actively right now taking away. Trump just recently vetoed a bill to help provide clean drinking water for a couple of states, but part of it is southeast Colorado. And what's wild about that, and the reason presumably he did it is because he doesn't like Colorado, because I don't think the state went for him. But the thing is that if you know anything about Colorado, southeast Colorado and just east Colorado, kind of in general, but mid to south, that's Trump country. They all voted for Trump. Like, if you go to Pueblo, like it's a bunch of Trump supporters. But here Colorado and apparently wanted to like veto that. So we're stopping again, this is the basic health, human services, education and stuff like that, and trying to like gut these agencies. And it's absolutely crazy. If we wanted to as a nation, I know this is weird to think of this as an individual, if we wanted to, like, we cured polio, guys. We got rid of it. I think it's making a comeback if we keep doing what we're doing. But we've cured many of these things that were death sentences. We're working on cancer research. We can cure cancer outcomes are better now than they used to be. And this is something that we can cure. Okay. Similarly, like no one is suggesting, no one who has a PhD who's working on renewable energies thinks that we should stop using oil tomorrow. I'm sure you could find a couple of quacks that think that, right? But understanding that, like, hey, global warming is a real thing and it's causing some serious problems, the U.S. military understands this. The U.S. military understands that global warming is a bigger threat to national security than most other things because of the issues that it will cause for various bases and for troop readiness and many other things. Guys, if you think about Warhammer 40K, for those who know of this universe, the grim dark future, and you think about something like Star Trek, right, where it's the Federation, it's a pretty nice. Those aren't just fantasy, guys. Those are options that we could have, and it's really a question of like, where do we want to spend our time and energy? Which future do we want for ourselves? Because we have a choice, and right now we're choosing grim dark. Some of the things that the Trump administration is currently doing are actively moving us closer to World War III, which is fucking insane, okay? And this isn't hyperbole. This is literally what's happening. Questioning, like the idea of invading Greenland and breaking up NATO is just insane, okay? And I know that maybe doesn't mean anything to a lot of people because they don't know what all that is. And, I'm not going to go into the geopolitics of it and what have you, but there are really bad people in the world, and they will want to take away your freedoms, my freedom. And some of it might be based on race, but a lot of it's just based on power. And it turns out we have one of these people in charge of the U.S. right now. But Putin is not our ally. Xi Jinping, these are not good people in charge of these countries, right? These are not people that are they're going for grim dark, because at least in the grim dark future, they have control, they have power. All right. Let me I need to keep this a little bit shorter here. I'm going to be honest with you. The most recent thing where Trump, captured Nicolas Maduro from Venezuela, kind of crazy, right? If If I had to guess, I think the reason he did that is because I think he wanted to get us to stop talking about the Epstein files. I honestly do. Here's the thing about the whole Epstein files, right? Well, here's a question for you. First off, if you had a coach in a middle school, a male coach who was coaching girls sports, and they kept going into the girls' locker room while they were changing, would that be a problem for you? I'm going to throw out that yes, that would be a problem for most people. If you had a male coach going into the female girls' locker room in middle school and in high school, that would be while they were changing and just walking around, checking out the girls. I personally would say that person is a pedophile. That's what I would call them. That's the word I would use because I think that's the word that accurately describes that situation. Here's the thing. Without the Epstein files, we know that Trump has done that exact thing a long time ago. We knew that before he got voted into office the first time. We knew that he was going into Miss Teen USA with girls as young as 14, and he was walking into the dressing room because they complained. This is not a question of fact. This is what he was doing. Add in all the other things, and it's like this dude's a pedophile. Do we not know this? So moral grounds, your own self-interest. There's a lot of reasons not to like this guy. I don't care about the person in particular, though. My biggest issue with what is going on right now is that there's a whole bunch of people in Congress who their job is to stop this. Now, we already know in the U.S. we have a two-tiered system of justice. A lot of people, this might have been news to you. A lot of us knew this a long time ago. And it's maybe 3 or 4 tiered, right? But like certain people get treated different ways. Again, if you don't know what I'm talking about, give it a Google. You can find stuff how poor people are treated in the justice system compared to how wealthy people, compared to how powerful people, or people that have both are treated. Okay, there's different things in the there's many different tiers, I guess. But they had a chance to, we know that he incited an insurrection and a riot, right? He was trying to maintain power the first time he left office. There were multiple impeachments. He was impeached twice. And you know what? A bunch of senators, most of them Republican, maybe all, refused to do anything about it for whatever reason. And they could even now do something about it. If they voted to impeach, if they said, you know what, this president has gone too far, he's starting wars, he's acting crazy, he's corrupt. Like we have more, he's disqualified on moral grounds because of the various sexual misconduct that he's done. He's also violating Congress by not having these files released on the Epstein files, whatever. What is he hiding? There's a lot of different grounds, and they could vote today, tomorrow, whenever, to have him removed from office. Now, there's a whole bunch of other corrupt people that are around him and surround him, and that's going to be its whole thing. The vice president is better, but probably not good. But they could do that tomorrow. They don't want to. They don't want to. Why exactly? I mean, I don't know their individual motives. I assume because they want to maintain power and maintain control. So when all this stuff eventually comes to a head, I just want us to remember that it's not just one person, because what a lot of senators are saying right now is they're picking a particular thing and they're saying, I think that they're like bootlicking, they're kissing ass, but then but then being like, I just wish he wouldn't do this one thing, but I think overall he's done a lot of great things, for our country. It's just so much nonsense, and it's so much lying and so much gaslighting, and it's just absolutely insane. None of these guys are okay. All right. Is there anything else I definitely wanted to mention? Oh, hold on chat. I don't have it on all chat, guys. I'm sorry. I had it on my apologies. I had it set to YouTube automatically sets it to top chat. Yeah, so if anything got eaten or didn't get displayed, although YouTube will moderate stuff, and I am talking about some heated things, so it might eat up some comments. I apologize if that happens. It's not me. I'm not moderating anybody. I haven't even read any of the comments, by the way, because I don't think I could do that and do this. So here's the deal. There's no accountability right now for the police, but there hasn't really been accountability for police. What a lot of I'm kind of going back, I know. A lot of people, a lot of more liberally minded people are going to look at the recent you know killing of, oh, her last name was Good, right? I'm sorry. And they're going to look at the recent killing by ICE, and they're going to say like this is murder, this wasn't justified, blah blah blah. I'm not commenting one way or the other on this. Here's the really bad news. I'm gonna here to tell you. The fact that that cop was kind of a little bit in front of her vehicle when she pulled forward is gonna be within the current system of justice that we have. By basically every police state, by every police office, by every sheriff's office in the U.S., that's a justified use of force. Him shooting and killing her, shooting her in the face and killing her, that's a justified use of force. And I think that is a problem. I think that's been a problem. But I think there's a lot of people that are just going to find out or are about to find out that that is a problem in the U.S. This is one of the major problems that we have. And again, I think it was that's the current state of things. And just if something happens in this case will not change the fact that that is the current state of things in the U.S. Okay. All of that, a little bit more than a little bit depressing. I have some good news. Okay. Here's the thing. We have the power. And I know this sounds crazy. I know you're like, what can I do? And I get it. In a lot of ways, yeah, you can't do anything. Okay. Here's how we have the power, though. We have the power to choose who is in office. And I know that a lot of you might live, if you're watching my channel, I'm not particularly, you probably have some vague ideas of how I feel about a lot of this stuff. And for me, it's not about political party. It's about issues. And you probably know how I feel about some of this stuff because I bet many of you feel the exact same way. And so some of you might live in a place where you're like, well, my county, my state, whatever, always votes this way. And so my vote kind of doesn't matter that much. First off, I think that's a problem, especially in the national level, voting for a president. I think most of us would agree that the way voting in the U.S. is set up isn't amazing. The thing is that there are things you can do. Talking to your friends and family and coworkers and etc. is one of the major ways. But we as a group still have the power. Okay. And a lot of people that are in these places are upset. The people that come from places where I grew up, which are very, a lot of the people that have been brainwashed to think all this stuff is okay. What I would encourage everybody to do is to not bash anybody, to not tell anybody how stupid or wrong they are, right? And also, I'm not saying, I have some family members that are too far gone and will never listen to reason. They're sending me conspiracy theories. They were sending me some earlier today. You're never going to convince them of anything. But if you have the opportunity and if you have the chance to be able to talk to people about individual issues, pick one. Pick one individual issue. And guys, there are plenty that we can all agree on, okay? Like starting off with, hey, should children have to worry about having enough food? No matter what their parents, did, no matter how much it's their parents' fault, should that be something that we have to worry about, right? Like should we make sure children have food? I think yes. Okay? Now, if we go, hey, well, you know what? Look what the current administration did to stop funding for those kids. Look at the consequences of these actions. That doesn't seem good, does it? Right? I think we're agreed that this is a bad thing. Hey, people should be able to have clean water that's not radioactive. Because the wells here in Colorado, if you go down, it's a problem with contamination. Yeah, we can agree and just pick one or two things and then, learn something about it, understand it, and then realize that, if you're going to talk to someone about hey, kids should have food, right? And like a place to live, we should make sure that happens. That's pretty reasonable. We can agree on that. The other thing, healthcare. The rest of the developed world, well, first off, should people be able to have healthcare? And should that be a basic human right? I think the answer to that is yes. I think most of us would agree that, like, yeah, I mean, if we can, we should provide. We have public utilities like electricity and water. Like, I feels like healthcare should be added in there. Now, a lot of people say, "Oh, we can't afford it," and there's other problems. Listen, don't even. I'm not even getting into that. Just should it exist? Should we try to do that? I think the answer is yes, right? Like in an ideal world, yes, we would have that. Okay. Um, One of the major things that the Republican Party has tried to convince everybody of over my lifetime, the last 20, 30 years at least, is that the government can't do anything and that anything the government does is bad. And then they actively sabotage the government to kind of make that self-fulfilling prophecy come true. That's not at all true. Governments actually can do things, and there's certain things that governments do really well. One of the things they do really well is handling, if you look at the cost of essentially redistributing money, taking in money from high income earners that are younger and redistributing that out to older people that have paid in, so that they can have basic medical care and everything else. That actually works pretty well. Now, companies will work to, skimp off the top and screw up Medicare and Medicaid and stuff like that, sure. But actually, if you look at the frictional cost, the administrative cost of those programs, it's actually lower than what you find in the private sector. Anyways, I'm getting kind of off on that. But we all it takes is for us to vote in people that will do something about this. That's all it takes. And again, don't be abrasive. Don't be. That's not going to help your cause. But the other thing is, it's not about Republican or Democrat or whoever your guy is versus the other guy. It's about the issues. If we can just agree that we shouldn't have a masked police force going around, rounding up American citizens, killing American citizens. Now, they're doing horrible things to immigrants, many of them here legally. Most of them probably here legally, okay? They're doing absolutely horrible things. The whole Alligator Alcatraz, I mean, that place is, when a hurricane come in, is like all those people, if that would have happened, they would have all died. Like, it just, if a bad hurricane came through there, like, it just would not have been good, okay? And they knew that. They knew that whenever they did that. Cruelty is very much the point on all of this stuff. Like, yeah, they're horrible things. But I think, and I care about that. But I think a lot of people, for what they've been able to convince to dehumanize non-Americans, but they're literally they have guys, they've taken American citizens and kicked them out of the country. They've done that. So, this stuff is happening to American citizens. And I think a lot of these people that are like gun toting, like, you want my gun? Come take it, A lot of people that are all about freedom seem to be okay with American citizens being rounded up and harassed. And, and again, if you don't know what I'm talking about, just Google it. It's kind of insane right now. All right. But again, the thing I want to leave you with is, like, we can change this. We can vote. We need people to run for office that are moral people, that will run on principle and will actually, work for the good of their community and not just to enrich themselves. I know that's a big ask apparently right now, but that is what we need. And if we can find those people, then we need to elect them. And that's all it takes. And the ones that are there too, like if they understand that if they don't get on board with what the people want, they're not getting reelected, most of them will switch they'll change their tune. But what they're counting on is being able to continue manipulate and essentially lie and trick people, gaslight them, etc., into voting against their own self-interest, which they've been able to do with surprising success, honestly, and it's kind of scary. But the reason I say all this too, and then this will be the last thing I say, the reason I say all this and the reason I think this is so important is because, like, literally where we're heading is not a good place. Again, we have a unaccountable mass police force it's a domestic terrorist organization. That's what ICE is. It's a domestic. When you talk about domestic terrorism, that's exactly what ICE is. They're going around and terrorizing communities. That's what they're doing. They're not safe. They're not providing safety. They're not doing anything good for these communities. They're not rounding up criminals. We know that now. I mean, we knew it before, right? Those of us who are a little bit more aware of what was going to happen, but that's what it is. That they're going around. Should they be protecting the borders? Should we round up criminals? Yes. But what is happening is not that. That's not at all what's going on. So, anyways, I just want to say something because it's getting bad, and I'm afraid it's only going to get worse before it gets better. And I'm not this is. I try to keep it just about games here, and after this, we will go back to just about games. But something needs to be said, and I just could not say anything, And again, I know a lot of people tune in to hear me, and talk about games, and that's the thing that that's the reason you guys want to tune in, and it's a break from all this stuff going on. So my sincerest apologies for not doing that today. But I just can't not say something, right? As someone who cares about people, who cares about the country I live in, yeah, it's just kind of wild. So, let me read through the contents. I'm way up at the top too, and I apologize if a lot of comments are getting auto edited. That's not me. It's about power and control, Voss. I think it's fair to acknowledge that while police brutality is bad, the issue itself is largely overinflated due to online outrage cycling. It's very profitable. Voss, I don't think that's true. I actually think it's underinflated, honestly. There's been a lot of situations that just don't make it onto TV. Now, I have friends who are police officers, and I know that there are some very good police officers out there, and we need those. Absolutely. I also don't think it's the individual police officer's fault. I think it is a lack of proper training and also the culture. The culture is often, it's we write the report, right? We get to say whatever happened. And it's kind of wild how in I don't know about many, I don't know. I hear people say not in my police force or whatever, and then I go and look and I'm like, oh yeah, absolutely in your police force. There's a culture of it's okay to lie. And maybe there's reasons for that or whatever, but it's we write the report mentality that is really problematic. And what happens is that when you have really good police officers, I've talked about this before, that are in there, that they there was a case of an I think it was an ex-Marine, but he was an ex-U.S. military person, came back to his hometown, joined the police force, wanted to continue serving his community, and he got called out on a call, and basically he was fired for not shooting somebody. He didn't feel like he needed to shoot. I can go through the details. You might not believe me, but that's literally what happened. And, talking to that guy afterwards, he's like, listen, one way or the other, I was going home that night. I wasn't about to not go home because, but he didn't feel like the person was a threat. He didn't feel like he needed to shoot them. And because of that, he was kicked off the police force. That's the kind of stuff that's kind of crazy. Not going to lie, I've been having a bad feeling about ICE, and even if I'm a conservative, ICE is just some unconstitutional police force, honestly. Yeah, and the other thing is, there's people that have been members of ICE since before this, right? Who actually work on the border and do other enforcement that is good. It's just what is currently being done with it. Hopefully that's understood. Volspa says, okay, I'm going to have to disagree slightly, and I don't know if it matters because moral licensing, and again, I'm way behind what we're talking about, guys, and I don't know if it matters because moral licensing is usually cringe, but as an immigrant myself, I don't know if I simply being somewhere enforcing federal laws is a bad thing. Vossboss, the issue is that they are allowed to just operate with impunity, literal impunity, and they're harassing U.S. citizens, and they're violating U.S. citizens' rights, and again, people can argue about someone who's not a U.S. citizen and what, blah, blah, blah. it's easier for me to make the argument because I think it's very clear when it's like these are U.S. citizens that are being arrested, that are being beaten, that are being drug on the ground, and what have you, because they're brown, because they don't look like they were born here, because because they don't look like me, because they're not white, and that's what's going on. And it's a question of like how much of this until it's not okay. We also have instances of very clear like leaks of information of the administration telling these people to like it's not just about criminals, it's just about brown people. And I mean, Donald Trump has said that, right? He calls them homegrowns, and what he means by homegrowns is he means that people that are U.S. citizens, but are their parents were immigrants or they got immigration status. I don't really know, but it kind of just seems generally racist. And people will not like this, but that's what he said. So I think it's very clear what is actually going on, and it's not about ICE doing ICE enforcement. It's about them arresting and even deporting U.S. citizens and other people that are in the country legally. That ICE is acting against the law. And the other thing that ICE is doing, and it's part of their tactics, is they'll arrest somebody and then they switch them to a bunch of different facilities so no one knows where they're at, and so they can't get legal. They can't get like a lawyer, and their families don't know where they're at, and all that's done intentionally, right? That's done intentionally. And if you guys don't know the history of the U.S., we put Japanese people in concentration camps during World War II. American citizens that were of Japanese descent, we put them in a camp to concentrate the people of that nationality in one place. That's what you call, that's a concentration camp. We didn't murder them all, but it's a concentration camp. We did that. And that could happen again, which is again one of the reasons why I'm taking the time to say all this. Okay, what do we got here? Yeah, so it's not about like I simply enforcing the law. It's actually about them. In America, we have this idea of due process too, right? Like if people have broken laws and we need to deal with, we should do that. Absolutely, we should punish those. But a lot of the people that are saying, yeah, we should punish people for breaking the law, we haven't punished Donald Trump or many politicians who have broken the law, right? And you know what? Hey, if Bill Clinton's in the Epstein files, fuck him too. Yeah, absolutely. Whoever it is, I don't care. Yeah, let's punish them all. But like, let's get the information out there. Let's have due process, and that's what's not happening. And we know that, and we also know that ICE and the current administration, our government, is defying court orders. So they're defying the judicial branch left and right. And what happens when the government stops following other the rules set down, the orders given by another branch of government, another co-equal branch of government who has jurisdiction in that sort of thing. That's a breakdown of the government. Amanda Buys Games says, someone who works in and has personally impacted the immigration climate in the U.S., specifically a state that is heavily being scrutinized. This whole thing gives V for Vendetta vibes. Guppy Saurus. Hey, Guppy. Regarding ICE, they're enforcing laws and people keep interfering and impeding justice. That most recent shooting, the lady literally rammed him with her car. So, Guppy, I kind of already talked about this. I'm sure you heard. I think by our current standards in policing in the U.S., what was done, I think many people would say that was a good shooting. How do they say it? I think there's a way of saying it, but like that was a justifiable use of force. I'm not. I could give my personal opinion, but it doesn't matter, and so I'm not going to. So I hear you on that. The issue, though, again, is they're violating Americans' rights. Again, if you everything else aside, they're violating Americans' rights. They are, and they're being a menace to society. And that's my issue. If they weren't doing those things and they were acting within the law, and yeah, then it would be okay. Also, I will point out that at some point, a law that is immoral should not be followed, just like an order that is immoral should not be followed. And I'm sure, again, these are things I think we can all agree on. The problem with them ignoring the law and the Constitution, ignoring people's rights, and physically abusing people because of the color of their skin. Yeah, exactly what Nani's saying. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, guys, if you're like, what are you even talking about, Night Haro? Google it, give it a search for yourself. You can find instances of this, and probably more than you want to, and that's the issue. If somebody is in the country illegally and we've decided we're going to deport them, there are reasons why that's a bad idea economically, and there's much better ways to go about it. But I didn't say anything when that was happening, right? There's levels of issues here, and there's also levels. It's really scary when Americans' rights, basic civil rights, are being violated. That's what's scary to me. And that there are some people cheering it on and thinking that it's okay. That's what's really scary to me, and that's what I'm trying to address. Yeah, Nani's talking to Guppy, but that isn't what happened, Guppy. You can clearly see. Yeah, okay, we're talking about that incident. Yeah, yeah, and you know what? That incident. Well, never mind. I'm not going to get into it. Plenty of people are covering it. There's nothing I'm going to say that I imagine somebody else hasn't already said. I think both sides are trying to spin that story. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. What up, Crude Red? I love country Colorado. Night Haro, Voss Boss says, Night Haro, I think you might have fallen for the pork bill trick. Both sides do it. Side A names a bill, anti-dog abuse bill, and it's filled with other stuff, and the bill is vetoed on the other stuff. And then the media says side B voted against saving puppies. Voss Boss, yeah, I mean, I don't want to both sides it, but I do want to, I just want to, for those people that might have, let's I don't care about any teams. I'm not on a team here. I'm really on issues. But if you want to talk about Republicans and Democrats and my issue with is like there are things that people that identify with both those sides are right about. And one of the things that they're right about is, for example, is that like I don't think Chuck Schumer is a great guy. I just don't think he's a great guy. And so it's one thing that I and the people on the right can probably agree on. And I just want to acknowledge I'm picking one thing literally at random. Okay. But my point is just to say that like, hey, there are things that we can agree on and I'm not trying to both sides it. The media does this way too much where it's like one person says some crazy stuff, but to the people that are on that side, I just want them to understand like here's the thing. Both sides, I think that there is far more stuff that we agree on than we don't agree on. All right? People having clean drinking water and needing that, we all agree on that, right? Why is Trump vetoing a bill that is not trying to stop people from getting clean water? That's crazy, right? That's what I'm talking about. That's the stuff I want to talk about. I want to talk about like, hey, are the police bad? No. Do we need border patrol? Yes. Okay. Like we need these things. Is the current state and what's going on okay? No. Right. And if we can talk about the crazy things that are going on, then I think we can agree. Another thing I'll point out too about about some of the ICE brutality stuff and what you're seeing. There are instances, so ICE is not accountable at all. Nothing is going to happen to any of those officers. First of all, we don't know who they are, right? Because they're masked. And so individually, we can't even figure out who most of them are. I know the most recent guy was identified. But also the Trump administration is not going to do anything. They have qualified immunity, et cetera, et cetera. And they are just like the police do. They're actively going out and they're doing things that are violating people's rights, people's civil rights. And again, U.S. citizens, civil rights, and in some ways, I mean, people have shown up and said, "Here's this person's birth certificate. They're a U.S. citizen. They were born here," and ICE has ignored that and deported them anyways. Okay, so what happens is that people they know they don't have a recourse when ICE is after them. They know that if this ICE officer beats the hell out of them, there's no recourse for them. There's no justice going to be done. Well, what do you do in that situation? Well, if it were me, I'd run for my life is what I would do. And I think that's some of what is happening. And I think because that's happening, it's escalating things. And if ICE would just not obey the law and respect people's civil rights, there wouldn't be this issue. And then they could say, "Hey, we've done everything right, and all of these uses of force are completely justified." Yeah, bills are often filled with fluff to push an agenda. It's honestly quite annoying. Single bill issues need to be a thing. See, we're agreeing already. Crude Red says, "Night. Explain to them when they lose control of vets out in the public." Crude Red, do you want to clarify a little bit more what you mean, man? I think I know what you mean, but I need you to, um, and I'll try to eventually catch up with this. And then once I'm caught up on the comments, guys, we're closing this down and we're jumping over. Just FYI. Yeah, that's why we can't ever get anything passed that isn't an omnibus bill. Yeah. Guppy says, to be fair, NATO's sole purpose was to counter the USSR, which is gone now. I mean, that might have been the start of it, but I think we need our allies. We need allies. I mean, yes, we have a crazy, insane military that could take out all the other militaries in the world combined, but we still need allies. And it's good to, there is good and evil, and there clear lines where like people should be free, people should not be free, right? One of these is good, one of them's evil. All right, sorry, crude red. Yeah. What up, Wampus? Yeah. So I mean, whatever its original purpose, I think it still serves one and is a good idea to have allies. Why would you not want allies if you can get them too? Is the other thing. Voss, not to glaze Trump or anything. I just don't think it makes sense. Oh no, I think yeah, I think I missed. Yeah, a comment might have got eaten or something, or the moment was gone. Horrible Mike. Oh my God, bro. He incited insurrection. You clearly didn't listen to him say to peacefully protest. Yeah, I mean, again, this is like a thing we probably just won't agree on. You know, I think that there was a very long investigation, and there were some conclusions came to by prosecutors, and something should have been done about it, and it wasn't. And that's why, again, we have a two-tiered justice system. And there's reasons we have those laws. We shouldn't have been able to run the second time, in my opinion, but this is maybe not a good topic because it's probably something we can't agree on. And again, I bet there's a lot more stuff we can't agree on than not. Admiral Johan, what are we talking about? Quick recap. Oh man. Yeah, Mountain Survival. And I know that's Crude Red. I don't know why. It's just YouTube, guys. I'm sorry. We're talking about politics and stuff. I'm not moderating anybody for what it's worth. Boss says, yeah, and I'm sorry to recap, Admiral John. I'm sorry, man. It's my thoughts on the current state and of the U.S. and what we can do about it, which is a bit meandering. Boss, the BBC even had to retract the story they did, implying that because it wasn't true. Again, not trying to glaze the guy. Yeah, I mean, I think the person who wrote that would argue that it was true, and I think that the BBC they would argue that the BBC retracted that because they didn't want to get sued. And I think that that's another example of like corporate cowardice. But yeah, people need to let the law enforcement officers do their job. Yeah, I mean, that's a I mean, that if they're acting within the law and acting in an ethical way, I would agree. Azur says, unfortunately, any discussion about this feels pointless because they're like two separate parallel realities. Yeah, I'm just not quite. Maybe I'm an eternal optimist. I don't think I am, but we're still talking about this one specific issue. I think of this person. I mean, I think I said, I've said what I don't think it's pointless though. I do think that there are a lot of things we can agree on, and if we can agree on these things, then I think we can get somewhere. Yeah. As a brown guy, my parents always taught me to comply with cops and deal with things in court. I just don't understand why protesters, rioters, unaware of this rule. It's so dangerous. Boss, the thing is, man, that there is plenty of situations where people have done everything. A lot of times, like there's been issues. This happens. Cops will get super hyped up. One of them is telling the person to get down. The other one's telling them to put their hands in the air, and then the person gets shot because they're not complying fast enough. People have been shot because they moved too quickly to comply, and that was scary. They've been shot because they moved too slowly to comply. And again, I don't necessarily blame. Like there are some really bad apples out there. There are some really bad cops, but I think mostly it's an issue of training and making sure the right people are in the job. And I can speak to that some because when I was in the military, I mean, I pulled guard duty and I had the authority to shoot people. And it was, if someone charges this gate, shoot them. There wasn't any question about it. And also I had minimal to no training, but you should have people in those positions. First off, I should be able to go up to a cop and be belligerent. Okay. And they need to have the training and the wherewithal to be able to deal with that, and the personality, the psychological profile to deal with that. If you can't deal with that, you shouldn't be a cop, because words are not violence. Okay. So if someone is telling you, yeah, you're a, POS, yeah, stupid fat pigs. If people are doing that, listen, if you can't separate, if that's going to bug you and get you amped up, you shouldn't be a police officer. Okay. As someone who's been in that kind of position, you just shouldn't be a police officer. Listen, again, I had carte blanche if something went down to do whatever I wanted, and I was not going to get questioned like a police officer was. Okay. It just wouldn't have been the same thing. But I don't know what the deal is. I think it's just improper training, not good, people that are not prepared for it psychologically, et cetera, et cetera. We also pretend in the US like being a police officer is like one of the more dangerous jobs. And we know from statistics that there are, like, being a pizza boy is more dangerous. I know that you're put in situations that are high stress and high risk. I get that. So I don't think it's directly comparable, but yeah, I think better training and what have you. Sure. Yeah. Okay, we're talking about the individual instance. I say that for a gaming stringer to have start noting the failures of this admin, they know something is. I say that for a gaming stringer to have to start noting the failures of this admin, that something has truly fallen off the cliff. Yeah, and my reason for this is because I'm genuinely concerned, guys. I'm genuinely concerned for the state of the country and for the state of the U.S. right now, and that's why I'm saying something. And I don't want things to continue. They're already bad enough, and if they continue to get worse, how am I going to feel when I have an opportunity to talk to you guys and I haven't said anything? How am I going to feel about that? Not good. I'm not that person. I really wish both sides could at least agree on the facts and we discuss policy from there. But I have friends on both sides, and it looks like, and it's like looking at, yeah, I know Voss. I know that happens, man. I know I have people that do that. Again, I have family members that are probably more extreme even than you're talking about. I think you're talking about friends. But I if we can agree on some basic stuff, like, hey, corruption, like, let's talk about some of the corruption, like, whatever it happens to be, like, pick a thing, right? And just one thing, right? Can we agree on that one thing? And I think we can. The unauthorized use of force was insane, though. She didn't want to. Okay, yeah, we're talking about that again. Horrible things. A lot of people they're rounding up and deporting have done horrible things. Yeah, I mean, apparently, we've already talked about a little bit, horrible, Mike, about how, Trump has been known to do horrible things to women and to children. Going into the Miss Teen, USA pageant, right? Like, that's, moral grounds. You might be like, all right, cheating on your wife, we don't care, but like that is, those are underage girls, so. Also, what's in the Epstein files? Knight, I'm going to be real. I'm not a conservative, so I can't represent their position completely accurately, but I think the way you're presenting their positions is a bit disingenuous. Voss, I'm not trying to be disingenuous at all. So, but my apologies to anybody if that's, and I'm honestly not trying to represent conservatives or liberals or Republicans or Democrats. I'm trying to present some people I know feel these certain ways, and I am trying to represent that. Yeah, again, yeah, more about like this particular situation. It's really interesting to me that this is the one that has got everybody's attention. I guess because somebody died. Um, yeah, I'm not calling you. Oh, I know. I'm not offended, boss. And also anybody who disagrees with me, guys. I'm not offended, guys. I am just gonna have to wrap this up here in a second. Yeah, the more comments keep coming in, and I just haven't got through them. I promise I'll read through them later, but I do have to get to ESO. I'm not calling you a liar. I believe what you say is genuine, but from the conservatives, I've had friends at work and in my own circles uh not representing their priorities. Yeah, and just to address this too, like I have friends who are uh like liberal, and the other day I was having dinner with, or it was after dinner with a few of them, and they're talking about like gun control, and like, why do we need guns? Like guns aren't going to protect you if the government, whatever, like you're not going to be able to fight a war with your gun. And they represented a couple of other ideas, and I didn't have the opportunity and to really go into it because we're just hanging out after dinner or whatever. But that's not true. If you have a group of people that you're trying to occupy and they all have guns at their homes, like that's a problem for an occupying force. You might not win a traditional war, but most wars aren't traditional anymore. So that's like just an example. And I think people, it's one of the things I think we should enforce. The laws we have would be a great start to make sure that uh, gun safety and gun control is reasonable. But okay, I lost somewhere along the way. I lost horrible Mike. Oh, ICE is not a domestic. I mean, if we define what a I don't know what is uh how do you define terrorism? Um, the use of violence or threats of violence, especially against civilians, in the pursuit of political goals. Yeah, I mean, I think we just have to agree to disagree on that one. I think that's the way it's being ran right now. Those not working at the border and actually doing ICE enforcement things. I think that a conversation needs to be had because there's a lot to unpack. Yeah. What up, Softna? Softna says, I think it's interesting to see how people in your gen went through likely Desert Storm, the 9/11, the Middle East wars, and cannot draw uh, similarities between then and now. Yeah, I mean, say more, Softna, if you want to drop some science on me, man. Um, yeah, I'm not sure exactly in what way. Yeah, Guppy had the same question. Azur says it's wild. Anyone can support what happened to. It's wild. Anyone can support what happened to Maduro when the whole debacle with Saddam Hussein in Iraq is within living memory. Yeah, I mean it's the exact same thing, and like we can argue about like should America play world police or whatever. I just think it's clear that that's not what we're doing, and what we're doing is no better than a dictatorship doing things to other countries because they can. That is generally geopolitics. Just as an FYI, that's it's about power. It's not about right or wrong. Typically, I want it to be about right or wrong, just to be clear. But yeah, um, yeah. Uh, yeah, Maduro literally starving us. Okay, I think there's some arguments about Maduro and how bad of a person he is. I'm not really a thing I care a ton about. It's like different degrees of terrible. Yeah, he's done some pretty horrible things, guys. If you don't know that, look it up. Doesn't mean that horrible things should happen to him. Um, but we didn't go in there for any altruistic reason. So Night, this is Guppy Source Night. Those were internment camps, not concentration camps. I mean, you can call them whatever you want. I think a concentration camp, a whole idea of a concentration camp is you're concentrating a group of people of typically of some sort of ethnic background. Um, uh, yeah, still not good. Cool. We can agree. Yeah. If my uh, uh, Crude Red says, sounds like half your gaming community is Nazis, Night Haro. Uh, 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 yeah. I'm always surprised how people feel about. So, I should address the Nazi comment. There are literal Nazis. Nazis are bad. Elon Musk giving a Nazi salute at the inauguration. I thought that would be a breaking point for a lot of people. He didn't do it once, but twice, and then people are like, "Oh no, that's not what he did." And you're like, "No, that's exactly what he did." Like, I don't know. I can't. It's not it. Yeah. Anyways, I don't think that people that disagree with me, that you guys that are disagreeing with me in chat, are Nazis. I'm not. Uh, I don't think that. Don't think because I didn't comment on that I think that. That's I don't think that. I'm talking to you guys because again I think that there's a lot of the stuff that we agree on. Yeah. Knight didn't realize. The law better than Tom Homan. Maybe you should make the sacrifice and do Homan's job. Yeah. Is that the guy in charge of ICE? I mean, Mike, these guys have violated the law many, many times, man. I don't know what to tell you. Like it's pretty clear. Is that Tom Homan? Is he the ICE guy? I'll look him up. Oh no, he's the oh yeah, okay, he is the guy currently. Yeah. It's coming up as borders are. I mean, they've the, the the judicial branch, like judges, have said that they're violating the law. So it's not just me. It's judges that Trump appointed. Yeah. Um, Everything the USA accuses China, North Korea, Cuba of are doing, they're already doing it to it themselves. Every accusation is an admission of guilt. Yeah, I think that's a huge part of the problem. I'm not speaking to that specific statement, but just the idea that like we're no better. Yeah, and it's horrible, and it's a real problem. And as someone who served my country and cares about it and cares about people of all countries of all nations, realizing that we're all people floating around on this rock in the midst of a galaxy and a universe for which, as far as we know, we're the only living things. It does seem like maybe we should have a little bit more expansive view of what's going on in the world. Um, yeah, let me see. Horrible Mike, interfering with law enforcement isn't a right. Yeah, I mean, I could talk more about that stuff at length. Law enforcement, the idea that law enforcement is infallible, or that they usually, most of these guys aren't even trained. Again, for the ICE agents, and you can see many of them do fucked up things, man. Like if you don't know what I'm talking about, because it might be the media, just go Google it. Just go and just realize that there's a lot of stuff they're doing that is not good, that is violating people's rights, etc. And what happens is when you have a police force that is going around doing whatever they want and getting away with whatever they want, if you're someone who is then a potential victim of theirs, what are you going to do? Your only choice is to do whatever you can to get out of the situation. And that means not listening to law enforcement. And the idea that, oh, if you would just listen to them and you would just, there's people that have listened and have obeyed. And then again, US citizens that have been, arrested, that have been sent from place to place, that have been even sent out of the country, U.S. citizens. So the idea that you should just listen to them and everything will be okay, or if only that were true, Mike. If only that were true, like we would be having a different conversation. That is no longer true. You know. Yeah. I'm trying to like skim a little bit about some of these comments that aren't necessarily like I'm reading them, but um, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what was said, but I agree with Voss Boss. Let's disagree respectfully, indeed. A bit late for that. Nah, I think we're okay. I don't know. I want to keep it. For me, I'm fine. I don't know. Okay, so I'd like to ask something just to gauge this because I'm only looking for healthy and productive discussion. Did Trump call neo-Nazis very fine people? Didn't Trump call? Yeah, I think he did, right? Yeah, he said there were very fine people on both sides, and there was like neo-Nazis and like counter protesters for neo-Nazis. Yeah, Yeah, so I mean that was, and that's one of many things that you can point to and be like, yeah, that one specific thing was like absolutely crazy. Guys, I was halfway through the comments and I'm down to like a third, a 20th, a fifth, a fifth, not a 20th. I was thinking 20%. Um, yeah, Cosmic Band Mark. First off, I just want to say I really appreciate you, brother. Hey, thanks, man. I had a feeling you had your heart in the right place. Uh, sorry, one of my screens is going to sleep. I had a feeling you had your heart in the right place. So to see you discussing these topics is refreshing. Now on the issue at hand, there is something very important to understand here. Um, damn! I think your friggin' comment got eaten, man. Because then you said period, and I assume you said something, and I don't see that comment, man. I'm really sorry about that. Yeah. Uh, no, he did. No, he did not. Horrible Mike is saying no. He did not say that neo Nazis were very fine people. Um, yeah. So I think he did. Um, it might be you might be hearing it a little bit different way. Like he wasn't like, hey, neo Nazis are very fine people, but he did say that like two groups of people, they're very fine people on both sides, and one of those sides was a group of neo Nazi people. Um, if you wanted to argue that he didn't know that that was the context, sure, like I could see that. A lot of these guys are old and are a little bit senile on all sides. Um, but he said other things that really are like dog whistles and stuff like that that I think you could point to pretty clearly. But that's one. But again, I don't. Yeah. Anyways, um, cool. I don't care about loopholes the federal government are trying to use. Yeah, I'm not. This is illegal. Yeah. Um, a lot of this is you guys kind of going back and forth. And hey, man, I appreciate you too. I'm seeing some of the live chat too right now going on. I think, guys, I think we just got to call it. We've been going for quite a bit here, chatting about this. I appreciate everybody tuning in and talking about it. Um, yeah. I think we might just have to pause and kind of wrap it up here, guys. What I'm going to do is I'm going to jump to the end here. If you have anything that you said before, you really want to talk about real quick, you want to say, do it now. um, and maybe we can talk about it briefly, or if you want to know, hey, are you saying this, or do you feel this way, or whatever, um, you know, just throw it out there, and we can go over it maybe real quick. Um, uh, yeah, laws are being broke by ICE. Daedric is just memeing. Nothing is real. It's all AI generated democratic hoaxes. Um, yeah. Oh, that's basically what preceded the period. Okay. Um, I'm not. Softna is replying now, and I don't know. Hey, thanks for being a channel member. By the way, those of you guys who are channel members, Nani, Softna, appreciate it. Night, bro, you have to watch Trump's whole speech about the neo-Nazi thing. He blatantly and clearly says he's not calling neo-Nazis fine people. Um, yeah, I mean, Mike. All right, man. Elon Musk said after the fact that he wasn't doing a Nazi salute, that he wasn't doing a Heil Hitler, and he clearly was. So it's kind of hard for me. Like I don't think that Donald Trump is. I don't think he is. I don't think that like racism is like his core thing, man. I think power and corruption is his kind of seems like his core thing because he's willing to deal with brown people who are wealthy and corrupt as well. So I don't think that I think he's happy that that group liked him and didn't want to alienate them. I think he said some things that definitely make it seem like he's for them and he likes them, but I'm not trying to die on that hill. I don't really care. I don't think it's. Um, I don't think it's. I don't think it's as. I don't know. there are ways of getting from point A to point B without going through that road if that one is an issue for you. You know what I mean? Um, cool. All right. I think yeah, release the Epstein files. Indeed. Um, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about, Mandani, but I'm sure he didn't. Mike, drop a link and I'll check it out, man. And if I agree with you, I'll do a video saying how I'm wrong. I'm sorry, I'm laughing. I'm not trying to be dismissive, but I'm just pretty sure that's not the case, man. Um, yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't. It doesn't. Those things matter. I don't want to. I'm saying things that like upset me and definitely matter to me. I don't think they matter for our conversation. And what I mean by that is like again, like let's like the things we can all like agree on here. Um, are a little bit more important, and I'd rather just talk about them. That's all. Sorry, I'm just adjusting my lighting here. No, Guppy, they released a tiny fraction of them. Um, and they didn't. Yeah, thought they did release the files, and it was just covered in black highlighter instead of proper redactions. There were some things. So just to go over this real quick because I think it's important. They didn't release all the files. A lot of the stuff they did, they were supposed to redact only like the law literally said to redact the things that to protect victims, and they did some of it that clearly they redacted it, but they did a poor job. They highlighted it and it was black font, and they highlighted and put a black highlighter on it, but in the files, the documents actually maintain like they actually have those as two separate layers in the actual save file, and so people could highlight it, copy, and then paste it. And what they found is that a lot of things they redacted they weren't supposed to redact. Another victim thoughts about so like they haven't released all the files, Guppy. So they're acting right now. Some people have called it a cover up, and that's an accurate description of what's going on. People aren't going to like me saying that, but that is an accurate description of what is going on. The law is not being followed. The files have not been released. Small portion of them has been released. Yeah. Thoughts about the Insurrection Act and if Trump will violate the limits if used against MN. Yeah. I don't. Vic, can you give me the context you mean here with the Insurrection Act? I'm not a lawyer. I think you mean. Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, not being able to run again. I mean, I don't think he should have been able to run the second time because of that, if that's what you're asking. And if he'll use it against other people. Hey, Luna. Luna was supposed to be joining me at 5 to talk about ESO. Luna, I'm so sorry. Thank you for dropping in. Yeah. Yeah, they had time to redact this though, a long time, these should have been released a long time ago. All good, Mike. Hey, Mike, drop it into any you could drop it in the comment of this video once we're done, and it should pop up for me, man. It's funny to me that it's obvious who is only watching right-wing propaganda. Yeah. Yeah. I just want to read what Luna had to say here. Not American here, but growing up and learning about American politics and their actions made me realize it's a crazy, wild place. Made me appreciate more of my own country. I don't. Guppy sort of said America is the greatest country in the world. I don't think we are, Guppy, but I would like us to be, and I think we need to address these things if we're going to be. I don't think we are. We have people that die of preventable diseases, and that doesn't happen in other developed countries. We don't have health care. We as a country have said we can't apparently, or we either choose not to or we cannot. You know. Thank you, Sofna. I need an image, not just a waving. Do we have? Yeah, one of those is here, and the other one I don't want to do. I don't know. I don't know which one is greatest. I just think that if we were the greatest country on earth, we would take care of our poor, our sick. We would welcome we would welcome the alien, the orphan, and the widow. And I think from those who are, yeah, I don't know. I think we would live some of the ideals that we have, such as that on the Statue of Liberty and other places. All right, guys. I do have to call it here. It's been. I really appreciate everybody talking. By the way, I just really want to say that people who disagree, I imagine some people will be pissed off at me about this. Won't like some. I know Guppy was really pissed off at one of the things I said, about ice, and I appreciate that, Softa. Softa sending me the thing. uh, yeah, I'm seeing a lot of people compare this salute. Yeah. Do we have video of it though? Like of what he did? The salute is not a still frame. It's like a whole thing. We can protest, talk mad shit about each other, worship any religion. Okay, so we can protest, talk mad shit about each other, worship any religion, be critical of our leaders. Yeah, you can do that in like most of Europe, and there are many other countries where you can do all those things. And then you're saying like, look what's happening in London, like in England, like I don't. They're able to do all those things in there as well. They have slightly different laws on stuff, but they're able to do all those things too. I don't think England's going great, and it's also like I don't think the comparison really matters too. It's a question of like, is not providing healthcare for everybody, is people dying of preventable things. Does like we can do better, right? Can't we? Can't we? If we want to be the greatest, because I grew up with that lie too. I grew up thinking we were the greatest country on earth, and I learned that it wasn't true. I also, when I was in the military, I was stationed outside the U.S. Literally the last thing I'm going to say, because I got to go. When I was stationed outside of the U.S., I learned what it was like in Europe and other countries, and it's different, yeah. And there are things that are better, and there are things that are worse, for sure. But I think a lot of people have never left the U.S., and so that we have a lot of people only know what they've been told about other countries. And a lot of people too are convinced of stuff. So if you go to other countries, like it'll be a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Like they'll think, that wherever they go, they've already got this idea that it's going to be a bad experience. Yeah, we can protest, but whether you're going to be spun as a looter and rioter is a different story. You may protest. You will be political fodder for Fox, though. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Getting into some stuff that I really want to get into. Okay, guys. We're gonna jump over now. Luna, do you have a run you have to go to? Can you DM me? Because I'm going to end this stream. Guys, I'm going to end the stream. I'm going to kick us over to the next one. Luna, tell me how much time you have is all I'm asking, because maybe we could talk first and then I could read through everything or something. Yeah. Cool. All right, guys. Hey, I just want to say that I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys chatting. I know this is not a normal thing for this channel. And I know it could be upsetting to some, and this could be like a breaking point. I only tune in for games and you're talking about politics. I'm never going to watch you again. Hey, I'm not mad at you. I understand. It's just, I could not say something. All right, guys, here on YouTube, I'm going to end this stream. I'm going to kick over. We're going to talk about Elder Scrolls Online, which hopefully all of you know me from, or know about. So yeah, we'll be talking about that. New change to the DK. TLDR, great things. I think it's great things. All right, we're gonna end this stream, guys. Again, I really appreciate everybody, and we'll see you over there. If you're on Twitch, just hang out, guys. We're not